welcome to B Cube Sunday morning. It is a great Sunday. I saw you wave there, Claire. That means you're here. Um, we have
My
a
internet is
Phil
cooperating.
too. Hey, that's good. Okay, his fingers are all wiggling. Hers aren't. She just had the one. Okay, Steve had the yeah. Okay, I don't know what the symbology of it is, but I'm sure it makes him a better spear carrier. Um, Now, if you go to Steve's website or his Facebook page, that is one wicked looking spear you have there.
Yeah, I like to keep it close at hand just in case I need it for anything. That's the
Yeah, I
cutting
mean,
part, and this is the hitting part, and down there is the dog.
well, I'll bet you have a very well behaved dog.
Oh, you just have to be careful when you're outside swinging the spear around that you don't accidentally cleave the dog in
Oh,
half. That would
is
be
that
bad.
part of. So, Steve, is that part of your workout?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Making sure I know where the dog is, so I don't I don't chop her tail off.
Now, I'm going to show you my workout.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now, Steve, and then I'm going to be quiet here. Steve, long time person I've known and chatted with at many conventions and enjoyed every moment of it. If you're ever at a convention and get a chance to talk to Steve, I don't know. He overcomes his natural introversion to talk to people at conventions. You are an introvert, I believe, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But he does a wonderful job. And so, that said, let me tell you what B Cube's up to. We are down to we got ambitious and put together a book that's about 100,000 words and got 65, 63 now stories in it called American Storm, and I'm down to 12 edits. I'm in the middle of a doing something that I will tell you what every editor's dream and nightmare at the same time: editing Harry Turtledove. It's a dream because, hey, God, it's Harry Turtledove, and I'm getting to editing, and then it's all of a sudden it's like, oh, I got to edit this, send it back to Harry Turtledove. What's he gonna say? So it's a fun stuff. But right after that, the next one up is Adam Troy Castro, and after that, it's David Gerald, and then Susan McDonald. They're all lined up. My last dozen, and it's a hoot. I love editing. BQ Press has put out a lot of anthologies and containing some great stories that I truly love. And so that's what we're doing. We're hoping to have it out in July. I had hoped for July 4th, but then one of my authors said the deadline was when? And it was like, oh. Now, Steve, you've written a lot of short stories, but now you ever been an editor?
Oh God, no. Well, no, I take that back. I have accidentally been an editor. I had a, a friend years ago who passed away and left some short stories behind that she hadn't finished or sold yet. And I went through and worked on those and submitted those to the magazines. But that, was only because I didn't have any choice. Editing is too much work. It's hard.
Well, it's like you're doing sheetrock repair. You know, you gotta make it look like the original work. You know, but it's but you know that underneath there it's not the original, and you just pray that you get it right and make the author happy and create a piece of work that will appeal to the masses. because as Phil knows, and Claire, you haven't had to put up with me that much, but when I'm editing, I tend to will about half the time buy stories on the premise, and this is
Mm-hmm.
a great premise, and then send the author a
Ah,
note says I'm buying it, but there's going to be edits, and it's a fun thing. So that's what we're doing. Now, this is not the Bob Talks About B Cube show. This is B Cube Sunday morning, Sunday brunch with Claire and Phil and their guest, Steve. So, Steve, brace yourself. You know, get your, the elbows where they should be, the knees where they should be, the feet positioned correctly. And I am turning you over to Phil and Claire.
Okay. Yeah.
Make it clearer.
Now, I have known Steve since the very beginning of my career. In fact, I think you were my first contact with the science fiction fantasy world. Um, until I met you and had sold 3 books to Daw, I'd never heard of science fiction conventions. But since then, I've been to a number of them, and I'm trying to catch up and at least say hi in passing to you. But you're starting in on a new role as guest of honor at the Oregon Symposium. Can you talk to us about that?
Well, it's a much slimmed down version of Oricon. The history on that is somewhat contentious, but the Oricon was the convention began here in the late 1970s. And the first thing that they had was a symposium, which was to see if there was enough interest to go on with the convention. This was 1978, I think. And I was there. I was a new writer. I had sold a book, some short stories, and moved to Portland. And so they invited me to be on that. Those pictures are quite funny, the bell bottom jeans and the long hair. Um, uh, and then Oricon began and ran for 40, 40 years, whatever it was.
Something like
And
that. Yeah.
yeah, and they decided last year the Oregon Science Fiction Convention Incorporated, the organization that runs the convention, decided that they were done, and so they ended it. And some of the old guys and gals who were involved in the convention decided that they would see if there was any interest in keeping the sort of traditional convention mode going rather than aiming at media or games. They wanted to have some writers and do some panels and but it was considering Oricon would run 3 or 4 days. There would be panels running in sequence and side by side all day long, so that you could go to one of 3 or 4 panels at any given hour. A lot of writers, a lot of fans, sometimes in the thousands, and it was quite an event. And I went to all of them except until COVID arrived. Except for one, which we were living in Port Townsend, Washington. We got snowed in, so we actually couldn't make it down. But other than that, I was at most of them. And so some of the people that are running this symposium, which is a much smaller affair, one day, one track programming, 9 to 5, in Beaverton, Oregon, which a lot of people just can't find. You have to
That's
get past.
that's my problem.
Yeah, you have to get past all of the hamburger places and the 7-Elevens to find it. But so they asked me if I'd come do it. And I thought that was pretty appropriate. It's a full circle. I don't go out much to conventions these days, and so
Mhm.
sure, I'll do that. And it's the attendance will be sparse. I mean, it's aimed at a maximum, I think, of 100 people, and if we get half that many, we'll probably be pleased. Um, so it'll be very loose and informal. There are a handful of writers who will do panels, and they will, it'll be like a sort of a miniature convention. It's
Yeah.
coming up in a couple 3 weeks, June the
Yeah,
20th.
I think it's Saturday the 13th, and it's at the Masonic Hall in Beaverton. And I have not driven in Beaverton for 30 years, and it was a mixed up maze then with construction, and you could never drive the same road twice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still that way, but since it would be a very long all day event for me,
Yeah.
and I'm not up to it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but there are a lot of younger writers out there who need to get their faces available, and I can do that any first Sunday of the month right here.
Yes. Yes.
So, latest comment on the sideboard is got my coffee. Let's go. So, yeah, coffee is as essential as my cane these days.
Yeah.
So, what do you have out as far as new books go?
Okay. Well, you go to Amazon and click on my name. Uh,
Hmm.
there are several out. Over the last several years, I've probably done 5 or 6. I try and do them as they come up. But the latest one, I have a collection of short stories, um,
Hmm.
and the uh, one before that, I've written 2 books in what I'm calling the Arce. Well, I have to pronounce it correctly. It's Arce, but it sounds kind of like horsey. The horsey universe, in which the participants, the main characters, are all immortals, and are mostly immortals. And the first one is called uh, what is the first one called? Anyway, the essence of these books is there are 2 of them. It's a duology. The first one is out now. It came out in May, and the second one will be out probably at the end of this month. Um,
Hmm.
so those are you know short novels that are probably literally would be considered urban fantasies. Because they take place here and now, and the main characters are immortal. So um,
Yeah.
that's
Okay. Okay. There's a note from Theo J. Williams, longtime member of Oricon. His new wife, Leah Rush, chaired Oricon and worked on the OSFCI board until membership dropped off and hotel relations became an annual trial by fire. And a lot of our volunteer force aged out or passed away. Yeah, I've known Theo almost as long as I've known you, Steve. Yeah, the first thing I remember reading of yours involved a journalist named Jack, and they find a cave with um, dinosaur scales.
yes.
I sat there stunned. That's a story with a sucker punch to the gut at the end, which is what short stories are supposed to do. How did you do it?
Oh, it's I like fractured fairy tales. Did you ever see Rocky and Bullwinkle?
Oh yeah,
Um,
I'm
and
from that
and
generation too.
yeah, fractured fairy tales. And so at some point, I read a story by someone who wrote essentially a take on Cinderella from the view of one of the coachmen, who was a rat, and was turned into one of the coachmen in Cinderella. And what happened to him after that was all over? He didn't turn back into a rat. He stayed human, and his life after that. I thought that was just fascinating. That you would take
Mhm.
a character from a fairy tale and run off with him. So I decided to try that. So the that one I think was called Other Toys. I think it was the name of the
Mm.
story. It was an FNSF. Um, and I can give it away because the story is, I don't know, 45 years old now. So, and you probably can't find the, a lot, maybe in my collection of short stories. I don't remember if I put that one in or not, but it's essentially the kid's name is Jackie, and the beast in the cave is not really a dinosaur at all. And if you ever heard Peter, Paul, and Mary songs, that'll be the clue that takes you to the end of it. And I just thought, well, this will be interesting. Let's see where it goes. And yeah, I got some interesting comments on it. I've done it several times where I've taken other sort of fairy tale characters. I wrote a story once that was set in the Bruce Lee Memorial Ward of the big The Bruce Lee ward of the big Memorial Hospital was the name of
Mhm.
the story. A few minutes in the Bruce Lee ward of the big Memorial Hospital, and it was characters from television and movies who were doctors and martial artists, and they were playing poker. And so Dr. Kildare would come in, and Ben Casey, and all these TV doc. It's just kind of fun to go places where nobody's gone before, or I haven't gone
Yeah.
before. I mean, there's only three plots, so you have to kind of mix and match to come up with a story that worked.
Are you able
I don't remember
to,
if that. Go ahead.
oh,
Go
my
ahead,
audio is
Claire.
breaking up. Are you able to tell us anything about what your immortals are getting up to without spoilers?
Oh, sure. The name of the first book is Pistoliers, and the conceit. My conceit is that if you're immortal and you've been around a long time, you can get bored, and so nobody really knows how many immortals. Actually, nobody outside of the immortals knows they exist, except for a few conspiracy theorists who talk about immortals and vampires and such. They are duelists. The protagonists are police officers who find dead people, and duelists who get bored being immortal, so they risk dying. They're hard to kill. Pretty much the only way to kill a mortal is kind of like how you kill a zombie. You have to shoot them in the head. So every so often they have a duel, and one kills the other, and they keep score. And you can only duel people within your cohort. So someone who was born 100 years ahead of you or behind you, that's your the number of people you have available to duel with. And once they're gone, you're done. Whoever's the last one in any cohort is the survivor. And so I decided it would be interesting to see what these people would do, why they duel. I mean, if you can live forever, why would you risk? I'm going to die. I've got a few years left, so it's not that big a risk, not that much of a loss. But if I have maybe 1,000 or 2,000 years still ahead of me, what would that be like? Why would you risk that? How much ennui do you have that you're so bored that you will get the rush of risking your life? So that's the first book. And in the second book, there is a group of immortal police officers who make sure that nobody cheats in the duels. And so if you cheat, you're deleted, and if they catch you. So the first book is all about the people that fight each other, and the officers who watch them is the second book. And of course, there's other plot things going on. Somebody who's doing something they aren't supposed to do, but yeah. So that was the idea that I had, and I thought, well, I like the notion of immortals. I've written several books and short stories about them, just because I find it so fascinating. How would you recognize an immortal? The first one I wrote was the short story in I think fantasy and science fiction or galaxy, in which a private detective who's following somebody's husband who's cheating, it goes into a restaurant, and there's someone eating breakfast, and it's a woman, and he watches her eat it. She's like the Olympic champion of eating. Every move is perfect. The fork comes up perfectly. The glass of the coffee cup always goes back into exactly the same spot. And you think, who could do that? And who could do that is someone who was immortal. And so how would you recognize somebody? If you've been eating for 500 years, you get pretty good at it. It'll be an automatic, And so those notions just kind of take me off into strange places. Like you ask the same question, well, what if they did this and that? What if that happened?
Okay, your Bob just has posted the link to the Pistoliers on Amazon. From the length of the link, I know it's Amazon.
Yeah.
And then just before that, he posted a link to Kill Switch.
Oh, yeah, that's the short story collection.
And keeping on the subject of your early works, the first book of yours I read was The Man Who Never Missed.
Yeah.
And I almost didn't forgive you for the ending, but then I saw there was a sequel. And I said, okay. Um, but anyway, so Cheryl Alexander said, I lived for Rocky and Bullwinkle, regular in my house, more so for my son than for me. And you probably read Mag and Magazine too.
Oh, of course.
Yes. Sneak it into the bedroom, hide it under between the mattress and the box spring. Yeah, Mad Magazine fueled a lot of early science fiction fantasy, I think.
Oh yeah, great magazine.
Yeah. And I don't know, did somebody try to reboot that recently?
They've been working on it. They killed it, and it seems like I've seen online connections to somebody trying to come up with it, but I don't know what they've done with it. All of the artists that we liked when I was young are all gone now, so it'll have to be a whole new crew.
Yeah, and I think the problem with rebooting Mad is that it was outrageous at its time,
Yeah.
and it didn't have to reach very far to become outrageous. Nowadays, that's normal. That's normal.
The problem with reboots is that if you try to bring a classic book or novel or comic book or television show back,
Hmm.
the times have changed.
Yeah.
One of my favorite writers was John D. McDonnell, who wrote the Travis McGee series. When I was 16, I thought Travis McGee was the coolest guy in the world. He lived on a boat. He rescued people. He made his money by fleecing crooks who had stolen it and split it with whoever he gave it back to. And the essence of the tale was that he just, for a 16-year-old boy, this guy was like our man Flint. He had all these powers and abilities, and he could do these things, and I was quite impressed. But he used to write short stories before he got into writing novels, and these were period pieces set in the 40s and 50s when he started writing. So at some point, he decided to update the old stuff, and he took these stories and he changed like how much a cup of coffee cost, or what it cost to ride the bus, and they just flopped terribly. They didn't work at all. And the reason why is he didn't change the sociology. He didn't change the history. I mean, he has stories where people are all listening to the radio, and there's no television in the stories. It is like, okay, there's like lots of channels of radio because there used to be a lot of channels of radio. And you can change the price of a meal going into a restaurant. But if you go into a cafe that is from 1940s and you leave everything else the same, its story doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't work for me because you really have to rewrite a tale so that it reflects if it's supposed to be set in present time. And McDonnell was a brilliant writer. I loved everything he did except that collection of short stories, the good old stuff it was called.
Yeah.
And if he had left it as period pieces, it would be fine. It's like watching an old Philip Marlowe movie set in the 1940s or 50s. Everything is in its place because that's the time that it takes place. So yeah, reboots are hard. I don't know if you could reboot Mad Magazine today. You'd have to be really outrageous, and I'm not sure we're ready for that.
Yeah. I mean, if actually, in retrospect, Mad Magazine as it was reflects it's too normal now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway. So and on Facebook, you kind of have a reputation as being a fitness guru for those of us who have lost the color in our hair. Yes, you have muscles and you're healthy.
Relatively.
Relatively, yes. And that's something my physical therapist keeps reminding me is I'm not 19 anymore. I should not expect my body to respond like it's 19.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about fitness in seniors.
I've always been a jock. It's been a sort of a hobby for me. I started taking uh, I ran track when I was when I was in high school, and I got kicked off the team. That's another story. But I had, I kind of felt good about exercising, and it became
Mhm.
part of my routine. Then I got into martial arts when I was young, and became enamored of that, and then stayed with it. So I've been doing martial arts for 60 years. So that's a baseline of what my exercise is. I walk the dog, I do martial arts, I pick up things.
Mhm.
And at some point, what I realized was that a lot of writers, most of the writers I knew, couldn't bench press their own typewriter. They didn't work out very well. They didn't stay fit. And the idea of a writer I really liked dying young because he had a heart attack was just that was terrible. So I started giving advice to other writers. This is what
Mhm.
you can do if you don't have to do this much exercise. You don't have to run a marathon, but diet and exercise. I mean, that's the magic potion. That's the pill. What if you could take a pill that would let you live longer and be healthier and feel better? Would you take it? Well, sure, everybody would. Well, there is one: diet and exercise. And we all know that, but it's not easy. It's not a pill. If you could just take a pill and you would be fine, that'd be great. And they've come up with some drugs that are really good in terms of helping you stay fit, lose weight, which is great. I mean, I'm all for that. But I also know that it doesn't cost anything to do diet and exercise. You just eat well. If it's white and it lives on a shelf, you probably shouldn't eat too much of it. Um,
Mhm.
it's what do you call sugar? It's white death. I mean, not to say I don't eat it. I like all those unhealthy foods too. But if you eat fewer of those unhealthy foods and you work out once in a while, just basic stuff. And as you get older, what happens is, your abilities, like you pointed out, you're not 19. You can't recover the same way. You don't have the same strength. Certain things start to degrade as you get older. It's the nature of the beast that you can be a really fit 90-year-old, but you're not going to run with the young dogs. That's just not possible anymore. So the idea that if you do some basic stuff, one of the biggest problems older people have is that we fall.
Mhm.
Two things happen. You tend to have less balance and you have less strength in your legs. The stronger your legs, the less likely you will fall because you can step out of a trip in a way that you can't if you don't have the muscle. So I would point out there's some basic simple things that you can do. If you just spend a few minutes every day, it will improve the quality, if not necessarily the quantity of your life. Um, so I started out telling writers, then I just started telling old people. If you're young, I don't care. You're going to live forever. Nothing I say is going to make any difference. You don't believe you're ever going to die. At least I didn't. But if you're older, you can still improve. You can still do
Yeah.
things that will help the
Yeah.
quality of your life.
Um, I just went through 6 weeks of physical therapy. Um, just try to regain my balance, and a lot of it is not just retraining how I walk, meaning I pick up my feet. I may aim to put my knees at my nose, but
Yeah.
that does not work. But it gets my feet up, and so that I'm less likely to trip over my own shadow, which I've been known to do.
Yeah.
When I broke my ankle in two places and dislocated it 90 degrees some 45 years ago, first thing my brother asked me or told me was, repeat after me. The shadow has substance. Step over it. But anyway, yes, we have to keep at it. I used to walk 4 miles a day. Now I'm down to about a half mile, and it's not every day, but I work at it. And my PT told me that I was right in not setting aside 20 minutes a day to do my exercise, but make them a part of everyday life. Walking from one end of the house to the other I can do the marching with my knees up. I can do side to side. I can do cross in front, cross and back. This, I can. Those are the PT exercises, and my house is 52 feet long. I can get a heck of a lot of exercises done.
You don't
So,
have to have a lot of gear. It is. People say, well, you have to have a gym. No, you don't. I
no,
stopped going to the gym years ago because I can do what I need to do at home.
yeah. And for me, living in the middle of nowhere, the closest gym or public pool is in Sandy, 17 miles west of me.
Yeah.
That's half hour each way driving, plus the time that I spend there. That's half a day of
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Um, and I am a firm believer in um, applying butt to chair and hand to keyboards and finish the book.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you can get online, go on YouTube and find 10,000 videos that you can do at home. You can do Tai Chi, you can do yoga, you can walk, you can stand next to a wall and squat. There's all these things that you can do with no gear necessary at all
Mhm.
that basically work your muscles. Weight bearing exercise is really good the older you get because it helps keep your bones stronger. We all tend to get a little brittle as we age, and one of the biggest causes of old people talking about being old. For you younger people out there,
Yeah.
if you start now, you can avoid some of the stuff that
Yes.
we would be dealing with later.
Yes. And having had a hip replacement, um, I recovered a lot quicker because I had been active up to that point.
Yes.
And even though it hurt and I needed a walker, I continued to walk. Took a few weeks off right after the surgery, but there were reasons why they had me up and walking the corridors of the hospital
Yes.
within hours.
Yes.
There. So anyway, and keeping your body fit keeps your mind fit because you got to have blood circulating both ways.
Yep.
And so I'm still writing new stuff. Are you? Or are you
Oh, yeah.
relying on reprints?
No, I'm writing new stuff. I worry that I'm going to tell the same story over and over again. That's one of the traps you fall into. But again, there's only 3 plots, and so you mix and you match, and it's the teller sometimes, not the tale. That if I strain a story through my brain, it's going to be different than if you tell the same story, just because of the way we look at the world and the way we
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So
my latest new book coming out in September, and I'll talk about it a lot on the October issue of this show, is actually a retelling of Tarzan. But
okay,
I substituted the gorilla family for a Sasquatch,
great.
and it works.
Yeah, sure. Why wouldn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a great idea. This is the other thing that new writers sometimes have a problem with when they first start. They think the idea is paramount, that this is brilliant. No one's ever done this before. Well, yes, they have. Someone's done just about everything under the sun. But that you had an idea and then you wrote it. Uh, that's the essence of being a writer, is that you have to write.
Mhm.
You have to tell the story. I think the idea of Tarzan as a Sasquatch is terrific. Um, is it cold where he lives? Does he wear a loincloth, or does he wear more clothes? Right away, things start popping up as to which way you would want to
Right.
go with it. So
Yeah.
it's
And I love what's happening in weird West subgenre. Same stories, same old Louis L'Amour stories, but you add a ghost
yeah.
or UFO or whatever, and it's that's a whole new story. No, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's we talk about the 3 plots. People who are not writers, and you get some discussion pro and con on this, but Heinlein's rules. Heinlein's version of it was that there are only 3 plots. One is boy meets girl. or boy meets boy, or girl meets girl, or boy meets dolphin, however you want to make those connections. So that's all the romance stories, that's all the love stories. And basically, there are only two things worth writing about: love and death. Everything else is subsequently less than those two things. And if you write a story that has love and death in it, then, you right away, you're ahead of a lot of people. The second of Heinlein's plots is The Little Tailor, which are all of the adventure stories where someone goes out against other people and has adventures. And the third is, in his version, was The Man, but it's the person who learns better. And so all of the stories that you are apt to read are going to have one or two or all three of those plots working in them at the same time. And you only have three sources of conflict: person against person, person against the universe, and person against him or herself, their self. I still have trouble saying they when I'm doing singular, but I know it's okay. So that's it. Those, you mix and match those things, and then the engine that drives all fiction is a protagonist overcomes obstacles to reach a goal. Then, armed with those things, those plots, those sources of conflict, and that engine, which is pretty much most of the fiction you're going to read, and it's broad. Obviously, you have room to move around, but if you have those things, you got all you need as a writer. All then after that, it's just butt in chair and fingers on keyboards, or with a pencil and paper. Yeah. So yeah, these are how to write lessons. Those that most writers will come to realize over time, whether they know it consciously or not. They know it. They know it on a heart level that this is what you do. And so, yeah, you take what was the old Pulp Fiction thing? If you want to start a story, chase your hero up a tree and throw rocks at him. My favorite of the science fiction saws is start underground, deep underground, in the dark, and don't tell them. That's where you start. Start in the middle, deep underground, and don't tell them. That's how you start a science fiction story.
Yeah. Okay. You at one speaking event, I think it was at the Romance Writers of America event, you said something about it's not science fiction if you can take out the science and still have a book.
Yeah. That's the old in the back of one of the old magazines, probably Galaxy. They call those Bat Durston stories. So you say, okay, so here's the deal. Bat Durston walks into the saloon. Black Bart's at the bar, and he's drinking whiskey, and he looks at Durston and says, "Durston, go for your gun." And so Durston goes for his gun and shoots Black Bart. And you hear the sting from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Wah, 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 wah. And he walks out. All right, so that's a Western. That's no problem. But if you have Bat Durston walk into a bar and the doors go, he walks in, and Dark Bart is at the bar and he's got his blaster in his holster. And he says, "Go for your blaster," and he shoots him. That's science fiction. No, it's not. It's a Western. It has science fiction clothes on, but it's not a science fiction story. If you can take the science out completely and the story still works, then it's something else. That was the thing. It what they used to say, call a rabbit a smearp stories. It's a rabbit. It looks like a rabbit. It has long ears. It has a fuzzy tail. It has all of the qualities of a rabbit, but it's not a rabbit. It's a smearp, and so therefore it's a science fiction character. So I mean it's a little simplistic, and the truth of the matter is a lot of the stuff that I've written is space opera, and space opera is essentially Westerns, or an Eastern. Star Wars is an Eastern. If you look at Star Wars, they have samurai swords, they have a samurai code, they have the Force, which is in Eastern martial arts is ki or chi or Tanagadalam. All of the martial arts have a name for the inner energy that you put forth, and that's what the Force is. But it's fantasy, and so the larger subset of science fiction is a subset of fantasy, and all fiction is fantasy. If you stop and think about it, you're just making stuff up. You're making stuff up, and you're putting your characters to their paces, and the setting is what determines whether it's sword and sorcery fantasy, whether it's space opera, or whether it's a Western or an Eastern wearing the clothes of science fiction. So Star Wars is not science fiction. And truthfully, Star Trek is not really very good science fiction because and I love Star Trek. I mean, it's a great, the whole, I mean, I just love the whole thing, all the character, but it's character driven stories. And the science fiction is really iffy. I mean, when you get into tech talk, or Trek talk, they like to call it, and you're throwing out all of these, unobtainium and hand wavium things about how the science works. The science in Star Trek is silly. I mean, if you have a device that you can step into and it will essentially kill you and make a copy and send it someplace else, give all the same memories that you had going out, so that you're the same person even though you're not. All the rest of the science compared to that, if you can walk into your room and go Earl Grey tea hot, and it goes bloop, and you have a cup of hot tea that materializes out of nowhere, that's huge. That's magic. That's like, that's Lord of the Rings style stuff. And you're flying around a spaceship and using photon torpedoes and lasers and all that. It's like a Model T Ford compared to being able to manifest something from nothing through a distance. You want to take out the Klingon ship, you just take a paper cup and you transmit it so that it appears inside their hull, in the actual massive hull. And since two objects can't occupy the same space at the same time, then the ship blows up. That's, why do you need all this other stuff? But it's one of those things that this is the suspension of disbelief that you have to agree to when you read science fiction or you read fantasy. Okay, let's just go with the idea that you can have time travel, or that you have faster than light spaceships, or that you have, trolls and demons and moving trees, and you just accept that. Okay, I'll accept that piece. This is the suspension of disbelief. It's necessary to read this stuff, and you just go with the idea. Okay, you can do time travel. Okay, we can have people that are immortal, and then everything builds off that. You have to play fair with the rest of the stuff. If you're going to do science, you have to have some science that works. If you're going to do magic, you have to have some flow of magic that makes it work a certain way. Otherwise, all bets are off. So I guess the essence of this for me, and I'm getting wound up here, is that when you're coming up with whatever your idea is, all you have to do is assume that your audience is going to accept this one thing, and then build your story off of that.
Yeah. I had one reader who threw my book across the room because I had not worked out the mathematics and the trajectory of how a massive asteroid was going to hit the locations I needed it to hit. He wanted to see the mathematical formula.
Sure.
And so, that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is how the people survive after the massive asteroid hits. So, not every reader is going to like everything you write.
Oh,
Now,
no.
if I had started with a cross-dimensional dragon falling out of the sky, no questions would have been asked.
Well, if you write hard science fiction, you're writing for a different audience. If you're Arthur C. Clarke or you're Asimov or you're one of the people that actually has science background and you use that as your basis, then there are certain expectations. But the truth of it is, if you come up with anything, any kind of science, and scratch 10 different readers, you will find some of them will go, okay, that makes sense. And some will go, you're mad. It doesn't work that way. So you realize quickly that if I had that level of science, I'd be a scientist and not a writer.
Mm-hmm.
The two halves of your brain don't always work well that way. A lot of the people that write hard science fiction, that's the focus of the story. It's like reading a Tom Clancy novel on the submarine. It's all about the gear and the stuff around more than the people who are in it. My science background, such that it is medicine. because I worked as a PA for a while, and so I have some basis on how biology works. And so I'll tend to use a lot of that in my stuff because I'm comfortable doing it, and because people can't argue with me about it because I know it. And yet, if you write, I wrote a lot of tie-ins where I was working in other people's universes. Conan.
I remember Conan, the hot
Yeah,
tub.
and I did some alien stuff and some predator stuff. And let me tell you, the fans who read this stuff, people who really get into a universe, they know it way better than you do.
Mm-hmm.
They can tell you when I was writing Aliens, there are people that know what color the lint was in Ripley's pocket last Thursday. And they will fight to the death. And you can't write for those people because there's only a handful of them. And no matter what you say, they will argue with you because they know it better than you do. I can't tell you. I got a couple of hate mail letters when I was writing Star Wars. I wrote the first Star Wars novels I did was Shadows of the Empire, which was sort of about the underground, the mafia in Star Wars universe. And I had Princess Leia almost seduced by the evil Shizor. He was kind of a lizard man who emitted pheromones that made him very attractive. And she wasn't seduced by him. She was sort of drawn in. And then when it got to the point of it, and I don't want to give it away the story, she gave him a knee in the nads. And that was the end of his attempt to seduce her. And I got letters from Princess Leia would never do that because they know her personally. She would never do that to Han. She wouldn't be attracted to this lizard man. I'm going, she wasn't. She didn't. None of that happened.
Mm-hmm.
But they were outraged with the idea that a fictional character that they loved would even go down the road at all to betraying her lover. And it didn't matter that I said, did you not read the part where she kneed him in the balls? Did you not understand that was the end of the thing, that she wasn't attracted to him enough to do anything? No. People fall in love with fictional characters and they believe they're real. I went to London. I went to go find Sherlock Holmes's house at 221 Baker Street. I mean, yes, I know he was a fictional character, but there was a 221B Baker Street, and I went there. And it's an insurance company. That's the idea. The goal as a writer is to create a character so real that people believe they are real.
Mm-hmm. I have had readers who knew my work better than I did.
Oh.
And they were not shy about telling me so. They're rare, but it does happen. So, we're starting to wind down the clock on this. Remind us again about the symposium in just under 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's the 20th of June. It's in Beaver,
No, it's
Oregon.
13th.
No, it's the 20th, dear.
Oh, they've changed it.
No, that's the way it was all along. The first day of summer, or the last day of spring. So yeah, it's at the Masonic Lodge in Beaverton, which you could probably find if you know Old Beaverton, because it's right in the middle of Old Beaverton downtown. There are two main roads, Hall and Watson. One goes each, one way, and it's almost in Farmington Road. Anyway, you could get a map to it. It starts at 9 in the morning, or 10 in the morning, actually, I think. They will be running single panels through noon, and there's a lunch, and you go off and do things. Parking is bad in Beaverton, but you can park and walk in. Beaverton has a Saturday market, and that fills up the streets with a lot of people parking because they go to the Saturday market.
Yeah, but they do have good public transportation.
Yes, the bus runs right past the place. It won't be a lot of people. I mean, I'm still not thrilled with the idea of going into a room full of people, because even though COVID is very low at the moment in this area, it's still out there. I haven't caught it yet, and I prefer not to. So, I'll be walking around with my little air purifier sitting on my table, and we'll have lunch out someplace, outside the venue. There will probably be somewhere between 50 and 100 people there. I don't know how many will show up. The writers, there's a list of writers on the symposium has a web page, which I don't recall the link to offhand, but on Facebook, you just write in the Oregon Symposium, Beaver, and whatever, um, and it'll run from when it runs to when it goes, and writers will be there. I think I'm going to give away a couple of hard copies. I can find them. Printed copies of most of the books that I sell now are ebooks, but I usually get a print on demand of each of those. And I'll bring a copy of my short stories and the first of the our side novels, and probably give those away, drawing or something. A lot of the writers there that'll be on these panels are new people that I have never met. Of course, at this point in my age, there's a lot of writers that I've never met. So yeah. Anyway, it'll run through the day, and I think it'll be fun if you're a science fiction fantasy fan, and anybody who comes can come up and say hi. I will probably recognize your face, but not remember your name if it's been more than a few years, because I never was good with names, but I'm pretty good with faces, and I know you. Yeah. So yeah, we've met 15 times, so yeah, we know each other. So.
Yeah. Do you know if there'll be a vendor's room?
No, it's going to be real scaled down. Nobody said. I don't think. I guess maybe some of the writers could bring books that they would sell, but it's going to be no art show, no vendor's room, no dealers, no. It's just going to be some panels and people hanging out.
Yeah, well, I hope it's a success and can grow back into something resembling Oricon.
Yeah.
Um,
It did. We aged out. I mean, a lot of the younger fans don't really read books the same way. Their media, they tend to get their science fiction, fantasy from other media, and I know that the old people run out of steam. I mean, the people who are putting this on are all around my age, so it's the Walker crowd, and the Kane people.
yeah, yeah. I'm amazed at how few high school, college age kids had been attending Oricon over the last few years. But really, since COVID,
Yeah.
the entire con culture has been dying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's the nature of the beast. COVID messed up a lot of things, and I think a lot of people. I mean, my grandchildren learned to read, on their computers. They, one of the first things is that oldest granddaughter was 3 and was looking at a book that someone had handed her, and there was that's the word strawberry, and I was astounded. Where did you get that? Online. There was a picture of the strawberry and it was spelled out. It's a different world. It's not the world we grew up in. It's not analog anymore. It's digital. And when I started selling, I sell more ebooks now than I sell paper books.
Oh yeah.
It's been that way for a while. And you stop and think about it. I mean, I want to read this book. Hit a button. There it is on your computer or your laptop or your iPad. You can read it, and it's right there. If you want to order a paperback book, you have to wait for them to ship it, and it has to go there. And then the print doesn't get any bigger. You have to have a bright light in order to read it.
Paper get thinner so that the print shows through from the back side of the page. That's my big problem with paper books.
I stopped using a typewriter a long time ago. The reason I got an iPad originally was so that I could use it as a reader, so that I could read ebooks, so I could read them at night in bed. My wife could sleep and I could read the thing, and it was white on black and it was not bright, and I could make the type bigger. Kids who grew up with this is the first thing that they learned to do was electronic. They don't feel drawn to paper the same way, a lot of them, and why would they be? It is so much easier to. Yes, I know. I have a nice leather-bound copy of Shakespeare's comedies, and it's printed in 1898 and has leather boards and onion skin between it to cover the illustrations. It's a gorgeous book. I just love to sit and hold it. But I discovered one day when I went to go look up a quote for something I was writing in one of the books I had read, and I looked all over the place. I couldn't find the thing. Where is it? I got racks of books, and it was an ebook. And I had read it and not remembered the form in which I had read it, but the content. And so, also, if I want to look up something in a book, in an ebook, you just type in the word or phrase you want, and it goes there. Whereas if I'm looking at something in paperback, this is the way it's going to be for a while. I still love paper books, but I do most of my reading, on ebooks now.
You know what I miss most about paper books are the maps and the cast of characters that you can just flip back and find.
Yep.
But with an ebook, you can't really. You have to go back to the beginning and find the table of contents and punch in, But other than that, I read ebooks almost exclusively, and it's a vision thing for me.
Yeah,
They're easier for me to read.
of course.
Okay, Bob and Claire are back. So Claire,
Yes, Claire disappeared.
before we close this out, do you have anything to say to Steve?
Yes, the one bit of encouragement I have is that I think I'm the easternmost person here. I'm out in Chicago, and we are starting to see in-person events come back. During COVID, there were several conventions that stopped meeting and didn't start again right away. But we're starting to see more people running in-person venues, and we're starting to see conventions that had paused for a few years come back. So I'm optimistic that people are starting to feel more safe and motivated about the in-person culture again.
Good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Okay, and Bobby, you're the host. You got 3 minutes to wind us up.
I got as much time as I want. But I'll try and do it in 3 minutes there, just because I got to respect the time of the people that are here. Steve, thank you so much for coming. One of these days we actually started a conversation one time about you submitting to a anthology. The one we're doing now, and everybody else turn your heads and don't listen. But we're doing American Storm, cover art by Jeff Sturgeon.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is just brilliant, and it is the concept is just the conflict that grows out of having, a fascist in the White House and citizens in the streets. Um, because whenever you have a fascist in the White House, you need to have the citizens in the streets. Um, Elsewise, they get everywhere. Um, Speaking of which, how much I miss Colbert.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you see, you've been talking about fitness. I had a routine. I found that I was getting up every morning and watching Stephen Colbert before I had him recorded. And then I was down at a thrift store, and there was a brand new Schwinn Airdyne in a box for $75.
Wow.
Bingo! I took it, and now it sits in my living room. And I'd get up every morning, and I'd watch Stephen Colbert, and I'd be riding my little Schwinn. Well, ain't nobody else as much fun to ride your Schwinn to as Colbert. And so if I die young of a heart attack, I'm blaming CBS and the corporate media. It's their fault. So, but that is it. We got to stay active, and I appreciate that part of the conversation. The And what we also got to do is we got to remember that this land is our land, um, and we can't give it away. The What happened with 60 Minutes should make every journalist or writer or uh, person who expresses an opinion in writing cringe, especially here at BQ Press, where we've almost every book we've written, published, has got some possibly considered political aspect to it, And as the powers that be, I mean, I was looking at Facebook the other day and watching a person who goes out there and does a little left leaning, and she's pointed out that she's being throttled the heck out of her. Um, and so if you're out on a Facebook and you like it when Steve posts something, because I do love your posts, Steve, by the way. They are good and they're well written and they're well thought out. I mean, you're the David Gerald of a younger generation. Uh,
Actually, we're closer in age.
David Joe, we are.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But so no, we got to share. We got to keep the ability of adverse opinions to be out there. I think it was it you that described corporate media? Used the phrase corporate media.
Oh, I've used that a lot.
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, right now we've got people in charge of what we think, what we are presented with as options. What they used to call it, yellow journalism. When who was it? Hearst turned the Maine blowing up into a war.
Yeah.
Guys, we got to think. We got to hold our media holders accountable. I ain't figured out how to get rid of all my CBS, but I'm working on it. And get out there and speak up. The polls are coming. The primaries are coming. They're here in many cases.
I have a weird recommendation about that. This is the first year, I don't think any new laws passed, but this is the first year that they didn't want to let me vote in the state primary because I had moved recently and I hadn't updated my ID yet. They didn't used to be strict about that. So if anyone does not have their current residential address on your ID, you want to get that updated before November, because even without changes to the law, they're like changing enforcement apparently. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean I know for a fact that every now and then I run into the person sitting behind the counter across the desk. Nah, I don't wanna. And what are you gonna do? All you can do in those cases is ask for a provisional ballot. If they won't let you vote, if they won't take your are you petting your dog or looking for your wallet?
I'm getting a cookie for the dog.
Uh-oh.
Big cookie.
Aw. Give that dog a better cookie. If you go to Costco, they got the dehydrated liver.
Yeah.
My dog thinks that.
The whole box of those in an instant.
Oh yeah, especially if you leave it down. Well, I would with Knox if I leave it on the counter. With your dog, if you leave it on the coffee table.
Yeah.
He's got a corgi. For those of you with short memories, but anyway, guys.
Go on.
But mine is there's one thing about a pug, the fat little buggers. I figured out how to tip over a garbage can. And it's sad.
I'm so glad I don't have to worry about those things anymore.
Oh, I'll come see you. I'll bring the pug. But that's the thing. Vote in your primary, because I can tell you the corporate media is trying to tell you who to vote for in your primaries. And I will tell you the several things. I got lots of them. But I found that some media outlets don't lie as much as Fox, but they simply won't tell you the stories that you need to hear to make a balanced decision. And many of them are now no better than Fox, but they're by omission. You
Mhm.
know, um, I watched it's just so keep your eyes out. Be smart. Don't forget. And now, Steve, don't go poking them with your pokey stick. Uh, what do you call? What's the name of that? Not the technical term for it, but I'm sure you've given your pokey stick a name.
Well, the second one is called Chelema, uh, and it's one of those things that writers do. Is I got online and I did research in several languages, and it basically means darkness. It's actually a North African language that's not out there much anymore, Yoruba, and it's because the design of the spear came from the one of the old kingdoms in Africa, the actual design of the blade and shape and stuff, and so it's based on a Bornu lance, and Bornu used to be a country. So yeah, CH with an apostrophe ELEMA, so it's Chelema, and it's Our Lady of Darkness. So yeah, I actually used that in one of the things in a book that I wrote. So I could write off the course of the spear because it's research.
You gotta like that. Have you ever read the Spellmonger series?
Oh yeah.
Oh, spectacular series. And I love the fact that they don't get carried away with it, but all their weaponry has names.
Of course.
And they point out that it's really hard to take a leak when you're wearing a full set of armor.
Well, I read a story once called "Thong the Barbarian Meets the Cycle Sluts of Saturn," and it was Michael Reeves and I wrote it. It was making fun of three writers. You know, Doc Smith, you know, R.E. Howard, and uh, we got into it, and we wanted to make it as purple as possible. Anyway, Thong the Barbarian's sword is named Ass Chopper. Uh, so that's as close as I could get
Hey,
to naming a sword that nobody would buy.
hey, just
Okay.
love it. But I tell you, I had Terry Mancour on before when he had a new book coming out, and I will probably try and get him back on again. And if I need somebody to help me interview him, what do you think, Steve? You might
Oh,
be
sure.
available.
Yeah, give me a call.
I'll give you a call because having somebody who understands all those pointy things um, is would be good because the most I ever did when we was a kid, we'd cut old barn doors down if we found them and make spears and throw them at each other from far enough away that you could dodge. In
Yeah.
hindsight, that wasn't very smart.
Yeah. You know, we used to use cane, you know, bamboo. We in the South,
Oh.
we had cane growing. We would cut those off and sharpen them and throw them. But every once in a while, someone would catch one with a body part, not their hand, and so we had to stop doing that.
Yeah, isn't it great to have to be young enough to be stupid
And survive. Yeah.
and survive? Okay, well, guys, this is Beekeep Sunday morning, and it has been a wonderful day with God, Claire and Phil and Steve. You guys stay healthy, get your exercise done, vote, and remind others to vote. Because I tell you, all we've got is our vote anymore.
Yeah.
And they're doing their damnedest, like you said there with, well, I moved, but I'm still in my same, I'm still registered. Yeah. Now, if they can block your vote, they're going to block your vote because when the odds of a Republican candidate winning goes up dramatically, inverse to the percentage of voters who show up.
Yeah.
And that's just a fact. So they don't like voters. So be well.
Yeah.
Any last words there, Claire?
But
Yep.
go
No,
ahead.
Phil?
See you next month.
See you next.
Yeah, next month we have Lori Mann as the guest, and she's in on the ConCom for WorldCon, which is October, and it's in Los Angeles.
I
But
think it's August. Is it August?
It's almost always August.
yeah, mid-August.
And late August. Yeah.
Yeah, if you could get it in October, man, I might even go to LA.
Yeah, but you know, LA in July is not fun.
Well, I understand that they're building a new hotel in Death Valley just to host WorldCons.
What?
Yeah, I know it's got a great restaurant, and it's only a mile away. And they've sanded with black sand imported from Hawaii, a nice walkway to get there. And they've made sure there's no shade anywhere, so it doesn't interfere with the view.
Yes.
So
but anyway, travel is one of the first things that goes as we age. And so Los Angeles at any time of the year is out for me. I will not be there. I am investigating attending virtually.
And that's going to be something interesting. Well, I tell you what, you guys, it's all been good, and it's great having you here. And you guys all be well. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.